大家好，我是阿万，今天是2025年11月11日，谢谢你来听我的频道，如果还没有订阅，可以先订阅一下哦。中国绿色科技浪潮正颠覆全球气候政治，但其实这篇主要讲的就是关于中国的，比如说电动汽车，包括电池产业是怎么样的去推动了整个世界的一个进程。在美国阻碍气候行动，欧洲难以实现绿色愿景之际，那一个令人意外的转变正在占全球人口多数的一个多个大型快速增长经济体中是发生了。巴西、印度、越南等国就是加速发展太阳能和风能，埃塞俄比亚、尼泊尔等比较贫穷的国家则跳过了燃油车，直接迈向电动汽车。石油国家尼日利亚是计划建设首座太阳能电池板制造厂，摩洛哥是正在打造电池产业中心，为欧洲汽车制造商供货。那智利首都圣地亚哥近年来已实现半数以上公交车队电动化。推动这一转变的关键是全球新晋可再生超级能源大国中国。在国内就是太阳能电池板、风力涡轮机和电池市场饱和后，中国企业如今就是正将这些产品出口到能源需求旺盛的一个发展中国家。此外，就是还向越南的太阳能板电工厂、巴西电动汽车工厂等项目投入数十亿美元。实际上，中国产业的政策正在塑造部分全球增长最快经济体的一个发展轨迹。今年在巴西贝伦市举行的第30届联合国气候变化大会的主席，巴西外交官安德烈科雷亚杜拉戈是表示，从气候角度上来看，发展中国家正在拿出解决方案。他认为说，新兴国家将不同以往的角色来参与本次气候大会，但这是否能够彻底的解决气候变化问题呢？答案是否定的。在包括这些大型增长经济体在内的大多数国家仍然以石油、化石燃料为主。印度尼西亚仍在大量开采煤炭这一污染最严重的能源。中国和印度仍在持续新建煤电厂。那巴西是计划扩大石油产量。这些国家也越来越多的依靠可再生能源满足大量能源需求。既为节省成本，也是出于能源安全的考量，许多国家试图减少化石燃料进口，以缓解外汇储备压力。中国技术的价格的下降让这一切是成为可能。环境研究与倡导组织世界资源研究所所长阿尼达斯古普塔表示说，这表明经济发展与减少温室气体排放可以并行并不悖。新兴的经济体是这一进程的一个重要参与者。我们之所以要关注这些国家，是因为他们拥有全球最多的人口和最庞大的贫困人口，能源需求是在不断的增长。如果这些经济体不改变发展模式，全球就无法走向更安全的未来。埃塞俄比亚去年采取了一项非同寻常的举措，禁止进口新燃油车。那尼泊尔是大幅降低电动汽车进口关税，如今电动汽车价格已低于内燃机汽油。巴西是提高了所有汽车的一个进口关税，迫使比亚迪、长城汽车等中国车企在巴西本土设厂。约翰逊霍普金斯大学净零排放政策实验室的数据显示，2011年以来，中国在全球的制造业投资总额已超过2250亿美元，其中1/3流入该报告作者所称的一个全球南方国家及低收入国家和新兴经济体的统称。经通胀调整后，这一金额超过了二战后美国实施马歇尔计划的投入规模。即便是对邻国兼具竞争对手的中国进口产品心存警惕的印度，也借鉴了中国的产业政策模式。 那印度政府通过激励措施，推动国内大规模安装太阳能发电设施，并扩大本土太阳能设备的生产。上周在贝伦举行的一个气候峰会上，印度强调其50%的电力需求可通过风能、太阳能和水电满足，且已提前实现5年前巴黎协定规定的2030年清洁能源转型的目标。不过该国尚未提交2035年的一个气候目标。简而言之，全球气候重心似乎正在转移。10年前巴黎协定签署的时候，美国、欧洲等富裕的一个工业化国家施压发展中国家加快减排步伐。当时发展中国家则回应称，他们同样拥有工业化的权利，富裕国家应资助他们向清洁能源转型，但这些资金大多是未能兑现。发展中国家领导人的不满是依然存在，所以说经济格局已然改变。10年前我们有政治承诺却没有市场。欧洲气候智库 E3G 气候外交与地缘政治副总监凯西布朗表示，如今我认为我们正在处于一个转折点，在可再生能源的一个领域，市场已经成型。关键在于，在这个不断变化的格局中，政治领导力将源自何方？中国一直试图将自身塑造为全球稳定的支柱，尤其是在特朗普政府宣布美国退出年度气候谈判后，绿色低碳能源是时代潮流。我们要坚定信心，统筹保护环境、发展经济、创造就业、消除贫困的目标。中国的副总理丁薛样上周在峰会上表示，丁薛样还呼吁世界各国降低绿色技术贸易壁垒。那随着今年中国太阳能电池板、风力涡轮机和电池出口创下纪录，北京愈发希望在确保世界其他地区加快采用可再生能源。许多欧美领导人对中国日益增长的主导地位表示担忧，认为这削弱了他们本国的产业。但在此次峰会上，许多新兴国家似乎对这一格局并无异议。你不能一方面坚持要求中国减排，另一方面又抱怨中国向全球提供廉价电动汽车。克雷格·杜拉戈说，如果真的关注气候问题，这其实是个好消息。如果你能订阅我，那我就会觉得这也是一个很好的消息。A flood of green tech from China is upending global climate politics. As the United States torpedoes climate action and European struggles to realize its green ambitions, a surprising shift is taking hold in many large, fast-growing economies with a majority of the world's people live. Countries like Brazil, India, and Vietnam are rapidly expanding solar and wind power. Poor countries like Ethiopia and Nepal are leapfrogging over gasoline burning cars to better power ones. Nigeria petrotates plans to build its first solar panel manufacturing plant. Morocco is creating a battery hub to supply European automaker. San Diego, the capital of Chile, has electrified more than half of its bus fleet in recent years. Key to this shift is the world's new renewable energy superpower, China, having saturated its own market with solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries. Chinese companies are now exporting their wealth to energy-hungry countries in the developing world. What's more, they are investing millions of dollars in factories that make things like solar panels in Vietnam and electric cars in Brazil. In effort, Chinese industry policy is shaping the development trajectory of some of the world's fastest growing economies. From a climate point of view, the developing countries are showing solutions that Andrew Carlos Delgado, the Brazilian diplomat, hurting this year's international climate talks known as COP30 in the Brazilian city of Belém. I think that emerging countries are appearing in this COP with a different role, he added. Is that completely fixing the problem of climate change? Most countries, including these big, growing economies, still get the majority of their energy from fossil fuels. Indonesia is still mining vast amounts of coal, the tightest energy source. India and China continue their coal plant building speed. Brazil plans to expand oil production. But these countries are increasingly meeting large portions of their energy needs with new renewable power, both for the cost savings and for energy security reasons. Many are trying to reduce the amount of fossil fuels they import to relieve pressure on their foreign currency reserves. Rapidly falling price of Chinese technology are enabling them to do that. Annie Dasgupta, head of the World Resources Institute and Environmental Research and Advocacy Group, said its roles have how economic development can go hand in hand with reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Emerging economies are a very important part of the story, he said. The reason we should be paying attention is that they have the most people in the world, they have the largest number of poor people in the world, and their energy demands are growing. If these economies don't change, there's no chance for the world to get to a safer place. Ethiopia last year took the extraordinary step of banning the import of new gasoline-powered cars. Nepal reducing import duties on electric vehicles so much that they are now cheaper than cars with internal combustion engine. Brazil raised tariffs on all car imports to compel Chinese automakers like BYD and Great Wall Motor to set up plants inside Brazil. Chinese manufacturing investment around the world have exceeded $225 billion in total since 2011, according to the net zero policy lab at Johns Hopkins University, with 3/4 of the money going into what the report also called countries in the global south, a collective term for lower-income countries and emerging economies. Adjust it for inflation, that's more than the United States poured into the Marshall Plan for World War II. Even India, wary of relying on imports from China, its neighbor and rival, have lifted a page from the Chinese industry policy playbook. The government is using incentive to install huge amounts of solar power and make much more solar equipment at home. India used the summit in Belém last week to remind the world that half of its electricity demand can now be met by wind, solar, and hydropower, and that is reach its 2030 target for pivoted to cleaner energy source under the Paris Agreement 5 years earlier. It has yet to submit in 2035 climate target. In short, the center of gravity seemed to be shifting. 10 years ago, when the Paris Agreement was signed, it was rich, industrialized countries like the United States and Europe that were landing on developing countries to take faster action to reduce their planet heating greenhouse gas emissions. Developing countries responded that they too had the right to industrialize, and that enriched countries should help them finance and transition to cleaner fuels. That financial help has mostly not materialized. The ill of developing country leaders remains, but the economies have changed. 10 years ago, you have the political commitment, but you don't have the markets, said Casa Browser, the Associate Director for Climate Diplomacy and Geopolitics at ECDG, a European research and advocacy group. Now I think we are in inflection point where in some cases, like renewable, you do have the markets, so there is question about where in this changing landscape you start to see political leadership come from. China has shown to case itself as a pillar of global stability, particularly after the Trump administration said it would withdraw the United States from the annual climate talks. Green and low carbon transition is trend of the time, the Chinese Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang said last week at the summit. We need to stay confident, balance such goals as environmental protection, economic development, job creation, and poverty eradication. Mr. Ding also urged countries around the world to lower trade barriers from green technology, with Chinese exports for solar panels, with turbines and batteries hitting records this year. Beijing increasingly has a robust interest in making sure the rest of the world moves faster in adopting renewable energy. Many American and European leaders have expressed alarm at China's growing dominance, which has undercut their own industries. But at the summit, plenty of the emerging countries seem fine with the agreement. You can insist that China has to lower its emissions and then later complain that China is putting cheap EVs all over the world. Mr. Du Dago said, if you are worried about climate, this is good news. Thanks for listening and wishing your life with happiness and joys. 如果还要再多说的话，那我觉得就是中国人民是非常非常的勤劳的。你看我们这么积极的工作和努力，然后把产品都销往了全世界。我觉得就是这一点的话，其实是还是非常的好，而且确实我们还是整体上是一个比较和平的。多了不说，祝你生活愉快，然后订阅我吧。